think it all works out. We've had some engaging sessions this morning, so I'm glad that the room is full. I'd like to present the panelists that we have. We have Greg Lanter, who is the Chief Development Officer of Club Med. We have Agnès Roquefort, who is the Chief Development Officer of Accor. We have Mark Kirby, who is the head of hospitality, head of Emaar Hospitality. And then we have Amir Golbarg, who is the Senior Vice President of the Middle East of Minor Hotels. So I'm very honored to be on stage with these hospitality leaders. I have a presentation that we're going to put up. We've done some work at Arthur D. Little on a study of the luxury hospitality market. So what I'm going to do is present to you some of our findings from that viewpoint, and then what we'll do is get reaction from the panel on some of the findings and their view from their positions, from their companies that they represent. So looks like we're trying to get up the presentation. I could talk to it directly. Oh, I have a clicker.
You have a clicker.
Okay, how does this work?
You just push the button.
Okay. Magic.
And then the stage opens and you fall down through the stage.
I'll be careful of that one. So we have up here our presentation. We've recently published our viewpoint on luxury hospitality, the rise of luxury hospitality. And I'm going to advance the slide. What we've taken a look at is more globally the luxury market. And we've seen strong growth over the past 4 years in many luxury items. You take a look at luxury watches, they've grown at 11%. Private aircraft have grown at 6%. And this is in terms of market, in terms of revenue. Luxury jewelry growing at 10%, and luxury yachts growing close to 20% CAGR over the past 4 years. Luxury hospitality is no different. We have some statistics here that characterize the market. An 85% increase in supply over the past 20 years. That is a very steady growth over a long period of time. Projected 6% CAGR when it comes to the market revenues and market growth. And then more locally in the Middle East, a 9% increase in the supply of luxury rooms. What is this driven by? One is a significant growth that we've seen in terms of people who can afford these luxury experiences, the growth of millionaires in the world. If you see in this graph here from 2015 onwards, there's been a growth of 11% CAGR of millionaires in the world over this time frame across the key continents, North America, Europe. Up on this slide too, you can also take a look at the number of ultra-high net worth people, people who are making income of over 30 million a year, and that's also grown. We've seen it in numbers that I've seen around 25%. Another trend that we've seen in travel is the experiential activities, the search for exclusive experiences. We've seen offerings out there for stays at private islands. We've seen offering for luxury rail, luxury cruises. We see a strong influence from social media. Even luxury travelers are saying that they're influenced by social media when they make their travel decisions. And to really make the point of people looking for extraordinary experiences, there's a trend towards space tourism, with the space tourism market expected to grow to be about 10 billion in 2030. People paying between 200K to 20 million if you want an orbital space flight. So there's some really exorbitant amounts that people are willing to pay for extraordinary experiences. If I bring us back down to earth and bring us back down to the market for ultra-luxury hotels, you're seeing that even in the accommodation market, people are willing to pay a lot of money for an extraordinary stay, for an extraordinary experience. So here we have on this graph here, on the y-axis, average daily rates. We've taken a look at a sample of hotels, luxury accommodations that are commanding $1,000 a night or more in ADRs. And on the y-axis, we've developed our own analysis of exclusive offerings. And it's a combined score that takes into account the size of the room, the number of keys, the food and beverage offering, if there's a Michelin star or celebrity chef, if there's cooking classes, if they offer sports activities, and we come up with an exclusivity score. And what we find is the more exclusive and the offering is, then the higher the average daily rates that they're able to command. And in some cases, you see average daily rates of $5,000 a night or more for some of these experiences. So then we looked at that group of accommodation, and we tried to look at what are the offerings that really differentiate them for their customer segments. And we saw personalized experience, so high staff-to-room ratios, dedicated shoppers in some instances, interesting wellness offerings, personal trainers, branded spas. Sustainability was a theme that we saw, regenerative tourism offerings and activities that guests could be able to embark on. Really exciting culinary experiences, celebrity chefs, and then service, of course, was a very important. High service quality scores, awards, accolades for the service at the property. But this is what differentiates the customer. When we took a look at operationally, what do some of these places do well? A compelling story with many luxury goods. The story is very important for being able to sell and brand the property. Having a well-trained and motivated workforce, and what does that mean? It means good recruitment, very rigorous recruiting practices, and also good training. A shift in financial mindset where in some cases some departments might be loss-making while others are making stronger profit. So there has to be willing to take a loss in some areas. And then a strong focus on data. I think this is becoming even more important in personalization. So these are some of the key trends that we've seen in the market. I'm going to leave it here on the summary slide for a second, with the key messages being there's been a strong growth in the luxury market. These luxury hotels are commanding high ADRs, and we've seen some key trends with differentiators and levers for success. So in this backdrop, I want to now turn to my panel and get their reaction. And I have a series of questions that we'll go through for the panel. Maybe, Agnès, I start with you. Accor having so many brands globally, and have you seen within those brand portfolio the same growth in your luxury segment? And what do you think is the outlook for the luxury segment?
So first, you said it all, so what can we say more? But maybe to reinforce, let's say, some of your very interesting insights. I would say for luxury and lifestyle, first, indeed, we can feel that the drivers of the growth of high net worth individual is very strong. We probably have the same source of data, but we're looking at the high net worth individual as the one accounting for 70% of the travel spend, luxury travel spend. And the good news is that they are expected to grow by 2027 up to 50% again, and to continue to grow. So this is a strong driver that has a major impact on our pipeline and as well on our RevPAR. Looking at the RevPAR, we could say, wow, it has been an amazing growth, and partly on the ADR, but it continues to be very solid with a strong growth of RevPAR, more now with a better balance with occupancy. There are some international guests that are coming back that are super important for the luxury business. Of course, American people, but as well Chinese that are coming back in the luxury hotel of the world. So that is very sane for the business with RevPAR, with a high growth. And finally, for the pipeline, we can see, and that's good to have this big crowd here, that there is a strong interest and a strong traction for luxury hotels, luxury and lifestyle hotels. So at Accor, we have a chance to have a big pipeline. Our pipeline accounts for 45% of our network, so it's showing a huge future growth. And recently, we have opened, let's say, some emblematic hotels, very luxury and lifestyle-minded, with Fairmont in Cape Town, Fairmont Cape Grace, and as well upcoming opening of Delano, fully renovated with Banyan Tree, with amazing experiential, with amazing experiences. So all the drivers and fundamentals are super solid, and we are very confident.
It's good to hear those global indicators. RevPAR, occupancy is strong in the global segment. Maybe, Mark, regionally, Emaar has properties in the region. Have you also been seeing the same growth and outlook?
Yeah, absolutely, Nicholas. We are, most of our properties are in the GCC overall. Dubai specifically, we have a number of hotels. We are actually, when you talk about, and the presentation was great, because when you talk about luxury retail and you talk about luxury hotels and products, we're seeing in our malls business, luxury retail actually showing a very solid increase. That translates into hotels as well. Of course, we've had a very, very positive year overall, both Dubai as a market, and you see that with the presentations that have happened this week, but also in our hotels overall as well. You'll have seen that His Excellency talked about D33 and the outlook and where we're going to go to in the market. So we see a very positive trend moving forward, and I think it only resonates with obviously the people coming in. We're working very closely with Dubai Tourism in terms of MOUs and making sure that we continue to position this market with all of our hotels and all our products, but certainly in the luxury market. If you look at only specifically Dubai and downtown this July and August, we're running occupancies of 75 to 80% in the summer months, which is really incredible. And it really showcases that there is very much a need for luxury hotels. The ecosystem of Emaar really works well for us in the downtown area. We're seeing an increase in certainly in our developments in terms of people looking at branded, either branded hotels or branded residences. We're seeing an increase in people requesting that are high-end brands like the Address Hotels and Resorts and Amani Hotels and Resorts as well. So there is certainly the requirements for that, and our branded apartments in terms of our properties part of the business is showing an increase in branded apartments as well. So there's a lot of lead towards that, and we're able to achieve some very, very strong rates. Our Armani and our Address hotels are achieving $1,000 a night rates. And we're seeing that not only here in Dubai, but we are developments on the north coast of Egypt, in Marassi, and close to Alexandria. This summer we're running very strong occupancies, very strong average rates, over $1,000 a night. So there is a strong amount of guests looking for those luxury experiences overall across all of our hotels, and it only resonates and tells us that there is a market out there, and we must continue to live up to that as well, because we can deliver on, we can achieve great rates, but then obviously the expectation comes about delivering exceptional luxury and personalized services.
It's good hearing that perspective. A lot of key indicators you touched on in the region, such as the high occupancy rates, the high ADRs that you're seeing. I thought it was also interesting when you said you can see it in the malls that you own with the luxury brands. I think there's more and more of a tie between the luxury fashion and hospitality in some ways. I mean, you have the Armani brand, so I think these are some strong indicators that...
we're lucky because we're able to listen to each other and understand what's moving and work on how we then utilize that ecosystem to support each other and have that data as well.
Excellent. You also touched on branded residences, and I know Amir, you were talking behind stage a little bit about that. I stayed at the Anatara for 6 months when I first moved to the region. So tell us about your outlook, in the luxury segment.
It's interesting, when I was looking at the presentation, I think pretty much most of the areas that you were covering goes back to the birth of the Anantara brand. In 2001, it was all about indigenous sustainable luxury. So we built the brand around purpose, about traveling with purpose, and I think, the whole circle has turned, and now people are back to that. It's not about the materials and what is built up of a luxury. It's about what the purpose of the travel is. It's about creating those memories. And for us, we've really gone back to our core DNA, and we've really revived that back into to what the travelers are looking for. The travel outlook is very interesting. The millennial travelers now are really controlling the mass. And if you look at over the next 3 to 4 years in terms of millionaire growth, it's all between the age of 25 to 40. So that age range is looking for a very different purpose of travel. They're not looking for beautiful luxury buildings with marbles and Carreras and all that, but they're looking for purpose. They're looking for something that stands out. And I think for us, that's been our core DNA. And I'm looking at now a lot of the assets that we're building up now, be it in CBD areas or in city centers or locations that are off the beaten track. Both of them they share the same denominators. It's all about creating the purpose and the value for the guests and creating something that is much more intangible than tangible. And for us, really, it's about looking at where the shift of the luxury travelers are going as well. You know, a lot of them was Dubai. I mean, Dubai has been a mecca of travel and it's been fantastic in terms of inbound, and we continue to do well. But I think there are new areas as well that for us is getting more interesting. And I was speaking to you yesterday about a destination like Zanzibar. You know, very limited inventory of luxury hotels. But it's a destination now that suddenly is creating a lot of hype. And we're going in, we're creating a flagship multi-use development as well with Anantara and branded residences. And we see that more and more being the next step because cost of build is becoming very expensive. Most of the developers now are looking at, well, the demand for luxury is there, but you look at, you know, cost of developing an asset today and the investment rate of returns is getting tougher and tougher. So you need to start looking at more flexible build-ups. So for us, branded resi, by default, either retrofitting existing or adding into our new developments has become part of our DNA in most of the luxury developments we do. But also looking at different areas of luxury. So looking at the Anantara, we've now done our first retreat, you know, which is in between Dubai and Abu Dhabi in an area called Gantut, which not a lot of people know. It's 22 key Anantara Santorini retreat. It's very unique, adults only, a total getaway. And it's one of those, I mean, if you historically look at it, you say, well, you know, that doesn't give us return with 22 keys. But in today's world, people are looking for that. They're looking for total escapism in the middle of a concrete jungle. And that's what the difference of that is. Similar now, we're going into tented camps with Anantara. So we're doing a 12-key tented camp in a location that probably nobody's ever been, in Kafue River in Zanzibar, in Zambia. And it's just stunning. You go there again, you know, the demand of the travelers are seeking that. They want something totally different. And the last piece, which I find very interesting, and this is the part that I challenge all of our own hoteliers, and equally I'm sure in the panel, is how can you take key urban hotels and make them a destination as well. And you know, obviously Agnès has done that a lot with a lot of their master plan developments, but now we're doing that and challenging it with the Anantara brand in downtown. And I'm challenging the team and say, well, how do you make that a travel with purpose? Break the norm of business. How do you attract the pleasure? How do you make that a sustainable development? And how do you give back in a vertical environment? And that for me is interesting. And that's the new space that we're pushing. We pushed Anantara into urban destinations. And for us with that purpose is how can we bring our DNA of leisure into the key CBD areas across the world and create the same travel with purpose in that type of context.
I think you touched on some good outlook on travel experiences, what you're expecting, and then how some ideas of how you're adapting to the market. I like the idea of you know, these experiences in the urban environments as opposed to not just in resorts. I think a lot of the analysis that we had was more on coastal cities, but you can still have the same ultra luxury sort of experiences within urban environments. So I think that's a good outlook to bring. Yeah. I'm going to turn to you now, Greg, and it'd be good to get your perspective because Club Med has its unique business model, all-inclusive resorts. So you're looking more at the packages. So how are the luxury hospitality packages outlook looking?
Thanks, Nick. That's a very interesting question, and I'll probably start by saying why I'm sitting in this panel. Because it's not obvious. What is obvious is that for the past 20 years, Club Med, which is a 70-year-old holiday brand, has worked very highly, very strongly on completely transforming the positioning of Club Med, moving upscale. And we can say today that we are probably the most international holiday brand. And we are offering upscale, upper upscale, sometimes close to luxury with our exclusive collection portfolio, which is probably 20% of our capacity today. But eventually, probably not competing with some of the luxury standards that you are thinking about. But still, I wanted to be here. And I wanted to be here because there might be two things that are making us very close to what you are doing. The first thing is, I think we're speaking to the same clientele. Partly the same clientele. Same clientele because our guests are the top 0.1 to top 5% of most of the worldwide populations, depending on the country. And they are not going all the time to your properties and all the time to our properties. But they would choose to go to a Orient Express experience when they will go with their wife or husband for 3-4 days of an exclusive trip without the kids. But when they will travel with the family, then they will turn to people like Club Med. And that's the second reason. It's a different way of saying luxury, which is, as for a lot of culture around the world, the kids are a jewel, are something very important. For a lot of the very wealthy people, the real luxury is not to see his kids with a nanny playing on its own or on its tablets waiting for something to happen, but is seeing its kids playing, if he is a Saudi young children, with an American young children, a Japanese young children, a Chinese young children, because that's really where he will remember his holidays and he will bring something home that is more than memories, but something he has learned. So that's why I wanted to be with you, because I think our clientele has sometimes the will to be in a very luxurious places with golden marble and Anantara with very remote places, and sometimes they want to have the kids run in the restaurant, cry, shout, and laugh around without being looking at and pointing at as a finger. And we share, obviously, whatever you said on the fact that there is a lot of potential on the luxury market, that the number of people having money is growing. And we see this especially, and that was one of your figure, in Asian markets, where today we have Thai wealthy families coming to our ski properties in Hokkaido. We have Indonesian wealthy families, Malaysian wealthy families, starting to enjoy not sightseeing, but real, true family holidays.
So I think as a recap, you focused on the families who are looking for these experiences and also some of the source markets that you see coming to your higher end locations.
Exactly.
I'll go to the next question, and the next question I want to talk about is challenges that we're seeing to the luxury market. And maybe, Amir, I start with you. What are some of the challenges that you see in the luxury segment in the short term, maybe the next 1 to 5 years?
I mean, if you look at it in particular, cost of build, it's really becoming a challenge. And for us, and that's one of the things I always challenge internally is, how can you, looking at in particular the macroeconomic impacts of importation of goods and build-up, etc. For us, we've really transformed, and that's part of the DNA of our existence, is being indigenous, is looking at where do you get materials and goods. The lower you can build the cost of build, the better you're positioned at a more sustainable business moving forward. And sustainability is one of the buzzwords everybody uses in today's world, but the reality is sustainability starts from the day you design a hotel, and the day you start looking at the materials, the build-up, the importation, all the way through then to operating an asset. And I think the greatest challenge in today's world is really designing and building the right asset that's going to be sustainable for the future. And the second piece is, how do you make or retrofit existing assets so they can become long-term sustainable as well. And that's the challenge we're facing now, is looking at how can we import more technology so that we can build that up. Because ultimately now, I think there is a lot of new ways of doing business. We're still too traditional in hospitality. Our problem with hospitality is we're very ingrained, and this is how it's been done for thousands of years, and that's how we do our business. But now through AI, through 3D printing, through building, sustainable developments such as prefabs, glamping, tented camps, etc. We're now looking at incorporating new type of environment into an asset so you can build it faster, build it cheaper, and build it locally. And by doing that, ultimately, you bring down the cost of build, and then it gives you more flexibility and wiggle room so that you can create those experiences moving forward, and you're not stuck with cash flows, and in particular in the impacts that you see on the geopolitical globally. So for us, that's a big element, and we've focused on that historically, but I think now it's even more important than ever. And it's an area I urge most of the owners and developers to look at, as we do. We own a major portion of our global asset footprint. So we are looking at new ways of both retrofitting existing assets so we can make them better sustainable for the future, but also in terms of build. Owners should challenge some of the brand standards of the operators, and I'm being open with it because we do the same, and tell them, well, what are you doing for the environment? How are you making sure that you're locating the local flora and fauna and materials to build your assets so you bring down the cost of build? And then the pressures will come down eventually to operate the assets.
Good. So bringing down the cost to build and sustainability are some of the two themes that you talked about.
Absolutely.
How about you, Mark?
I'm very similar to Amir, and I align with him on development costs overall. Certainly, they're something that we're focused on very much. But just adding into that, and one of the key things that I think all of us are experiencing in hospitality is about talent. Attracting, retaining talent. Why? Because there are so many more hotels that are opening up, luxury hotels. And it's really important that we work very carefully with our talent to really make sure that we're the choice of employer that they want to come and work with. So talent is becoming, and that's going to be, I think we'll see that in the next 1, 2, 3 years, something that we all have to really focus on in a very big way. At Emaar Hospitality, we're working very closely with all of our teams, a lot of empowerment, a lot of working together to ensure that we look after our guests and we put the right training programs in place, but also succession planning as well. So that's a very key point, and I think that will come up in a lot of discussions overall. But also, when I talked about the average rates and how the average rates are increasing, but average rates obviously also increases expectations. And in expectations, obviously, people are wanting more. We talked very much about how luxury travel is not just happening purely from a couple's point of view, but from families as well. What they're expecting when they go to the resorts and to our hotels as well. You look at the Gen Zs now; they're all traveling on business class. They're all taking selfies on the planes. So we know that there is a really rise on people wanting to spend money, and we need to work and we need to run with that very quickly. So we're looking at in terms of our resorts and in terms of our urban hotels, like Amir said, we have to make sure that we can utilize the very best of what we have around us. We look at our ecosystem. We're very fortunate. A lot of our hotels are built within master plans, whether it be the Dubai Mall for the Dubai hotels, whether it be Marassi Galleria with the Bahrain hotels, whether it be the marinas with the Egyptian hotels that we have on the north coast. But we need to utilize the facilities, and it's great that we can do that and work together with that. But we also need to run. We need to run to make sure that we're keeping up with the expectations overall of the families, the Gen Zs that come in. We really need to make sure that we're equipped to that if we're going to stay relevant.
So you brought up a couple of challenges. One is being workforce and training. And I can say with the clients that I've been working with, that's been a theme that I've heard a lot. And even at the national level, making sure that, and particularly in Saudi Arabia, where a lot of new hotel rooms need to be developed to meet goals, to have that workforce training. So that's very important. And I think the other one you brought up was some of the segments that you need to cater to. And I think these are two good challenges. So now I'm going to go, Agnès, to you to get your perspective on some of the challenges.
I agree with Mark and Amir. Our two major challenges are clearly sustainability and people. I do not want to repeat what my peers have already said, so I will insist on people, because partly with this luxury panel, people are our core asset. To deliver the complex but very interesting matrix you've shown about the ADR and the experiences. To have this level of ADR, we have to have, let's say, 5 up to 10 FTE people per room in the hotel. So it's huge in terms of hiring, training, retaining talents. So this is, let's say, a key challenge, and as well the most beautiful challenge, to get these people that will deliver as well the very emotional experience you described, Greg, with the family. This is how it works, and we are a very, let's say, resource-intensive segment and sector, particularly again for luxury and lifestyle. And so we have a key stake, a key challenge altogether to attract people on jobs that are particularly difficult. So at Accor, we are, at the end of the year, we will have hired more than 140,000 people. Less than 50% of them have been to university. So our sector is kind of a school of life. So we have great opportunities to upskill, to train, to embark with us on a journey which is transformational for our people. But we have as well to deliver, let's say, differently, and to make our sector very attractive, to continue to make our sector attractive for for our people. So to drive more by purpose, it was one of the panel, and you said sustainability is a challenge, but it's as well an opportunity to attract young talents, new generation, that want to work for something that is bigger than us, bigger than them, and really be driven by things that are, let's say, ambitious and nice for people and planet.
I like the way that you're describing that challenge. You make it sound like an opportunity, and it sounds like one that hopefully you can build workforces to rise to that opportunity to meet that gap, that demand. So sustainability and workforce, Greg, is this what you're going to touch on too?
If you want to ask your next questions, because you've got 3 other questions, you could skip me, but I'm going to say one thing, because I obviously share everything that you said. And on all these subjects, we are all very active and finding our ways. And I would add to this that probably there is a challenge on acceptability of luxury, because the discrepancy between the people that have so much money and the ones that have no money, and especially in some of the destinations we may run, where you've got people spending so much next to people having so little, is probably a subject that we should look into. And in looking into this is a way we give back. And I'm sure you're working on this, Amir. How do you contribute to the local environment, the local society, the local people there? How do you bring them on board, hire them, train them, have their experience international opportunities, but that they feel that what you're bringing is something that matters to them also, and that making their life better. Probably.
I thought at first you were going to repeat the same thing, but you brought a very new, interesting challenge, and that's the perception of luxury, which I think is very important. I had a number of questions, but we're running low on time, so what I'm going to do is combine the last one, and we can move quickly through this last question. So, what are some of the key differentiators that you see in your properties to attract, your segments of clients? And we'll start with Amir and then go down the line.
I actually want to add that into what he mentioned, because it's actually an interesting point. Hospitality, the beauty of hospitality, and particularly in some of the places that we operate, be it in the Royal Livingston in Zambia or be it in Kafue in other parts, to realize that you are actually the largest economy of the village and of the city. And the impact you can make in that location is absolutely beautiful. Hospitality touches so many different lives, and the geosystem, if you look at the whole circle of hospitality, it's incredible. And I think for me, that's what a lot of people don't see. They focus on the hotel and the asset and the inbound tourism that they bring to that asset. But if you look at it, particularly when you operate in locations that are really rural and there's not much happening, and the economy and the wealth divide is significant, the impact you can make in the local community is absolutely incredible. From the local farmers to hiring locally. We have hospitality school that we've developed in collaboration with La Roche, and we send scholarships and we bring them in. And I think that for me is probably one of the most beautiful things of hospitality, is incorporating the entire geosystem. So we've expanded in from running hotels, we do farms, we do boats, planes, trains, we do it all, right? So we've expanded into the entire footprint and geosystem of hospitality. But the beauty of it is what difference you can make to people's lives. So coming to that, I think that's really the area. I think it's the most beautiful, unique point. And that's where the travel with purpose comes. That's where the travelers want to go towards. I was seeing this year, a huge influx from North America coming in, a huge influx now from China, which is the only 1% travelers, but they go to places like Qasr al-Sarab, they go to places like the Royal Livingston, they go to places like Kafue. Why? Because they're looking for that purpose. They're looking for something different. And I think that's where we have not only a responsibility, but that's the most rewarding part of the business that we're in. So I think that's what makes us unique, and that's the part we need to embrace and celebrate, not just focus on the building and the assets that we operate.
It's a strong message about what hospitality can do to the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to add on that, when we build new hotels into the world, we spend 80% of our efforts on the community and 20% on marketing the assets. And that's what you should be doing more of. Focus on the community and the destination, and the asset will thrive.
Let's build on this theme. We're running out of time,
Yeah,
but still a couple. I want to hear everybody else actually on this theme of community. So, Mark, you have, of course, a lot of properties that are connected to the communities here. Maybe the impact of luxury on community.
Yeah, it's always hard to go after Amir because he comes up with all the beautiful things about communities.
Please.
And we're very focused on that. But I think for us at Emaar, we're very strong on focusing on positive paranoia when it comes to guest satisfaction. We're very strong in terms of looking at every single metrics. We've built an infrastructure that allows us to monitor and measure. And when you can measure something, you can manage it correctly. So we're very focused on the guest detail because when it comes to ultra luxury, you really need to be able to manage guest expectations. So we monitor our drop call rates, and I can tell you that we pick up 0-second drop call. A luxury hotel normally picks up 5 seconds, which is 3 rings. We pick up on 0 seconds with a threshold of less than 1%. So we're so in-depthly monitoring those systems to make sure our guest satisfaction, the guest journey at each of the touch points is very well maintained. We're very strongly focused on our assets, making sure that our assets are well maintained because we need to make sure that every time that our guests come to us, they're well looked after, and we have an incredibly intense mystery shopper program. So look after the guests, look after the asset, but we then look at we're very fortunate because of the ecosystems I talk about, so that we are able to be, and that's a key differentiator for us, because throughout those summer months, guests can come and utilize malls, entertainment, retail, and really be able to utilize that whole model as well. We've got a very integrated loyalty program called You by Emaar that allows you to actually earn and burn across all of the different areas of the business, whether it be hospitality, entertainment, malls as well. So that's really key for us as well. We have niche parts of our business. For example, we've got Weddings by Emaar, which we're collaborating very closely with partners like Elisab, and that really creates a very differentiated business for us overall. So very key areas that we can showcase, very strong in terms of our properties, but also looking after our guests, not only in terms of quality and their requirements, but also in terms of their personalization overall.
There's some good differentiators. And yes, some differentiators or impact of the community?
Yeah, differentiators again around experience. So we are in let's say a luxury segment, luxury panel. Of course, the product is important, but I mean, it's a deal breaker. All the luxury products have to be exceptional. What will make the difference will be the experience, how we deliver it with our talents, with rich experiences, how we will create the extraordinary, how we will create memories, how we will create the magic. For me, luxury is about that. This is what you will keep in mind, having, let's say, an exceptional, emotional moment and magic moment, with the staff and with the experiences. And I think this is our challenge and differentiator with owners and investors to create these exceptional experiences, to have this multi-layer, let's say, complex capacity to assemble, of course, the rooms, the product, the exceptional magic service, strong F&B, vibrant bars, vibrant restaurants, branded residences that we have quoted a lot, but to create this moment which is magic and unique and that you can only find, with the hotel and with the complex, let's say, experiences. So yeah, this is a differentiator for me.
So the magical and emotional experiences.
Yes.
Greg, your last words.
No. Well, thanks, because you said it all, and as a real conclusion, I think the aim of all this is indeed to create emotions. And I think the way we recruit our people at Club Med is first tap and look for people that have a capacity of a strong personal relationship before having the skills. Because the skills, we train them and we can get them there quite easily. But the capacity to embark someone, to embark a family, to embark a kid, to embark the adults into an emotional moment is something that not everyone can do. So that's
I'm excited to visit all of your properties and experience magical moments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.